What do we have here? We just picked up another UTV. This one's a 2013 Arctic Cat Wildcat 1000. Picked it up from the dealership. So the dealership said they've had this for a couple months. They've been trying to diagnose it, and they said right now it fires up but has no power, bogs, and sometimes shuts off at idle. They said it's really, really odd, and they could not figure it out. So they kind of put this one off to the side for a couple months and then finally decided to sell it to me for $3,000. So in 2013, these machines sold for $17,000. Right now on Marketplace, they're going for about $7,000 to $8,000 depending on condition. And this one's pretty decent. So we basically got this one half price, which is pretty good considering it does run. So today we're gonna try to figure this one out, try to diagnose it and see what's going on with it. It should be an interesting one. We'll take it for the first ride, see what it does, and kind of go from there. But as you can see, a couple scratches on the plastics. Not too big of a deal. The seats are pretty nice. Has a stereo system. Battery for it's right here. We do have the plastic piece for that and the other door. Mirrors, lights, tires are pretty decent. So overall, not a bad looking machine for $3,000. Yeah, it looks pretty decent. It looks like somebody was in here by the cam cover. It's all full of gasket maker. But from what I can see, everything is stock on this thing. But yeah, she's pretty clean for 2013. Not too bad. Oh, let's dig into this one and see if we can find out what the dealership missed. I'm hoping it's something easy and we can get this one up, running and driving by the end of the video. Alright, let's see if she fires up here. Back in here. Alright. This is what we're working with. We've got high, low, neutral, reverse, and park. Grab bar here. 4-wheel drive switch. Cooling fans, that's pretty cool. So you can manually turn on the fans, that's awesome. Little cubby. Looks like that's kind of broken. Got our gauge here. We'll see how many miles are on it. Lights are over here. And there's our stereo system. Nice speakers, actually. And our batteries right here. Alright. Well, let's see if she cranks over. How many miles are on it? 2,904 miles. See if she cranks. Oh, she fired up. Didn't like it. Idling pretty good. I think that's the exhaust squeaking, I hope. I hear something squeaking in the engine. Hoping that's not a rod bearing. Yeah, idling pretty good. Alright, let's give you a little throttle. See what happens. Alright, just a little throttle here. Oh yeah, it's breaking up pretty bad. Oh, and it shut off. Yeah, it does not like that. See if she cranks back up. Alright, we're gonna... Ooh, she does not like it. Oh yeah, she does not like that. We're gonna try to back this thing off the trailer. Yeah, they weren't kidding. It does not want to stay idling. It just cuts off when it's idling, so it's really hard to drive. But we'll see if we can get fired back up here. She does not like that. We're moving. We're full throttle. Uh-oh. That was full throttle. Not good. Alright, so as you can see, everything the dealership was saying is very accurate. Does not idle at all. Will cut out instantly if you don't have your foot on the gas. Has zero power, maybe 10 miles an hour is top speed. Bogs like crazy, and just running really crappy. And it looks like it was smoking a little bit too, so that's not good. So let's see what the heck happens. Let's try starting it up one more time. We'll try listening to the engine, see what's going on. Almost sounds like it's running on one cylinder. You can hear the fuel pump come on. So that's working. Got gas in it. Just dies. Can't even get it to idle long enough. Huh. Alright, that pipe is hot. Oh, that pipe is cold. That pipe is really cold. So that's the front cylinder. It's not running on the front cylinder. That is a fact, because that is, I can just grab that. And we've been running this thing. I can't grab this one. That one's really hot. So that would explain why we have low power and why it's not idling properly. We got it running on one cylinder. Huh, very interesting. Get our flashlight in here. So there's the cylinder that's actually running. So I'm wondering if somebody put like a new cam in there, or new valves, or a piston, and didn't do it on this one, because this one doesn't look like it's ever been taken apart. See that? There's no gasket maker on it. So maybe this thing has low compression in one cylinder, and that's why it's not firing. Or timing could be off, because if they mess with this cylinder, maybe they screwed up the timing. Let's see, is it leaking coolant anywhere? We'll check the oil, make sure that's not milky, and kind of go from there. Radiator's up here. I think there's an access port to it right here, and it's a dual fan system on these. Let's just see if that works. Push the fan button. Maybe it has to be running. I don't hear the fans coming on, do you? Huh. Well, maybe that's the problem. Maybe this thing was overheating. All right, oil for it is right here. Gotta kind of go around the pipe here, put my gloves on. Really hoping it's not milky. Otherwise, it's probably a head gasket, which very well could be. See if there's anything on the dipstick. It looks pretty clear. Doesn't smell like gas either. See how much is in there. I'm not gonna screw in the cap. It's full. With plenty of oil in there. It's good. So that checks out. All right, check the coolant next. This tool, I went way too long without having. This gets these little push pins out so easily. Before I was struggling so hard to get these out with the screwdriver, and these just rip them right out, like no problem. So I highly recommend that tool. These are on Amazon for like, I think 15 bucks. Saves you so much time though. See if it's really hot. Doesn't feel hot at all. See if you got anything. I can see some in there. All right, I think what we're gonna do next is get all the plastics off and track it down to the engine so we can see what's going on. We're gonna get the seats out. To get these seats out, there's a 15mm nut on the bottom. There's an access port. You just take those out and the seats can come out. Show you guys the access port here. So right up in there, you'll see a 50mm nut. Just take a socket impact, get that off. All right, there's the nut. It'll come out like that. So basically, there's a washer that goes down into there, gets locked on by that nut. So there's where the access port is. Looks like the fuse box is right underneath the passenger seat as well. So this is what this looks like. And that's where that nut goes onto. Just locks that seat in place. There should be a latch on here somewhere. I think this one's broken off. Yeah, it looks like it was taken off or broken up. There was a latch that pulled a pin, so that would slide out, but I think that's a pretty common failure on these machines. The seat latch breaks. Oh, both seats are out. Now we can get the plastic off the back. And I believe we can open up this whole compartment here. All these bolts can come out, and we can get to the engine a little bit easier. That gives us access to the fans on the radiator. That can come out. Doesn't give us a whole lot of access here. So that gives us access to the gas tank, the fuel pump, the coils. I think we can take that plate off. And if we get this radiator off and pushed up, we should have pretty good access to things, I would think. All right, I had to take the coil off. I think we can get the fans out of the way. I think. There's a hose down here. Cut that line. Air filter right here. It looks like got some oil leaking at the valve cover here. But the cylinder we're trying to get to is way down there, so it looks like we have to take off the plastics for the seat. But I think we can get to the spark plug. Maybe not. We can get to the spark plug in this cylinder. So let's take a look at the air filter next, and then we'll get the plastics off on the front. Let's get that out of there. It looks pretty good. Not too bad. At least it's oiled up and there's foam still on it. It looks pretty clean in the airbox as well. All right, these two panels need to come out. Well, I can tell you one thing, they do not want you getting into this engine. Possibly. Alright. Finally. So seatbelts had to come off. These 3 big bolts, they come off. And finally, we're almost there. It's right there. So if we can get this piece off here, which is held on by, I believe, a clamp, we'll be in business and we can get to the spark plug. Alright, we got this piece off, and now we have access to the cylinder here. So that is awesome. It looks like we don't even have to take off that panel there. But we had to take off the coil. Disconnect that from right here that was plugged in. So we are going to get the spark plug out, do a compression test, and see if we actually have spark as well. Because for some reason, this cylinder is not running. The other one seems to be. Quick check that one out. See where that's leaking. Looks like it's leaking from the valve cover there. There's a bunch of oil on the top. I'm guessing those bolts aren't torqued down, or gasket maker wasn't applied properly somewhere. There's a bunch of gasket maker all over the valve cover. Huh. Wonder if there's like a crack. We'll have to check that out too. Take a look at the plug here. It's tight in there. You can see the grounds are going to it. It's pretty black. Smells like it's getting gas too. We're gonna take the other spark plug off here, just so it doesn't fire up when we attempt to get spark. Ground this out pretty much anywhere. Let's see what we get here. Alright, let's see if we get any spark here. Foot on the brake. I'd say that's a pretty good spark. So we have awesome spark. That is not the problem. Let's try to get a compression tester in there. See what we get for compression. Alright, let's try this one. Compression tester going in. There we go. Now we're going to do throttle open. Let's see what we get. Alright, here we go. Throttle open. Turn it on. Okay, we have enough compression. Holy cow. 195 about. Huh. Tons of compression. Why the heck is this thing not firing? So that means that the valves are fine. Those are closing all the way. That means that the cylinder and piston are fine. So really the only thing that could be wrong, because we're getting spark, and I believe we're getting fuel, is timing. But we want to make sure the injector is spraying, so we can check that out next. Alright, so the injector is sitting right here. So to get that out, it looks like we can take these 2 bolts off here. Make sure this injector is squirting. Based on the plug, it looks like it does. But I want to see if it's consistent. We know that the other cylinder is sparking. So I don't think it's the fuel pump, because there's one single line coming from the fuel pump. So if it was the pump, you wouldn't be having good running on either cylinder. Alright. It's probably pressurized. There we go. Alright, there's the injector. Now if we try to crank this, it should spray gas everywhere. Huh. It sprayed once. Check that out. Not spraying a whole lot, is it? Try cycling it back on. It's sprayed again. It's not spraying every revolution though, and I believe it should. We'll cycle it back on. Every time we cycle it on, it seems like it sprays. But shouldn't it continue to spray? That might be the problem right there. Well, it's spraying once you cycle it on just fine. Maybe the coil has to be plugged in. Let's try that. Plug the coil in and see if it fires. Or squirts, I should say. Nope. There we go. Okay, now it's squirting good. Well, what the heck? That's really odd. See that? Squirting great. Alright, we got the jumper pack on. Let's see if she continues to spray here. Yeah, it's spraying good. So I think maybe that coil had to be plugged in to tell it when to spray. Test it one more time just to make sure. Yep, spraying good. Injector can't be the problem. We're gonna put the spark plug back in, the injector back in, and just see if maybe it wasn't spraying. All right, get our coil wire plugged back on here. We'll see if she fires up. All right, that's grabbing good. Get our other one plugged in here. Here we go. Let's see if she cranks over. Tell me the truth here. No. You can tell it's only running on one. It's not getting warm at all. And that pipe is hot. Alright, well, it wasn't bad. Alright, took the plug out again. Plug is really wet. You can see. So it is getting gas. It smells like gas, so. Injector's working, spark is working, has compression. Has to be timing. Has to be. We are first going to check the compression on cylinder number 1 over here and see if that matches up to cylinder number 2. Alright, I'm curious to see what this plug looks like. So let's take a peek. And we'll test compression on this one as well. There's a lot of oil coming from this top end here. Interesting. See, that plug's a lot drier. Look at that. Completely dry. Well, I know that one's getting spark because this cylinder is actually running. Let's just feel if it's hot. Yeah, that one's really hot. Alright. Compression tester going in. So this one has close to 200 as well. I don't suspect any top end damage or anything. Sometimes it can fool you. But I don't think that's the case here. Open. Really cranker. Here we go, throttle open. What did you get? Battery was dying a little bit. Yeah. We're right in that range. If we had a stronger battery on there, it'd be up to 190. So compression checks out on both cylinders, and they're right around the same range for compression. That's a great sign. So I don't suspect any top end damage. All right, I think what we're gonna do now is check timing. So we're gonna take this one off first, just because I want to see if this one's lined up properly before we work on the other one. I'm sure there's a bolt underneath here as well. Let's see. There should have been, but it's blocked off. That's weird. That one's missing too. There is oil going to the top end. Now we can zip all these out. Let's see, make sure all the bolts are off before we start hitting this thing. Whoa. Popped off of there. Jeez. I had some force to it. Oh, rockers look brand new almost. Okay. Those look pretty good. You can see everything's oiled up. So it's getting plenty of oil to the top end. That means our oil pump is working. Cam chain nice and tight. All the lobes look good here. So you can see everything is good. And this is the one that's running, so we'd expect it to be good. No chunks of metal anywhere here. Yeah, everything looks pretty good. Lots of oil on the top end there. So what we're gonna do now, go down to the flywheel here. There's a bolt here we have to take out. And I believe there's a little plastic grommet here that comes out. I think we can pull that out and get to the flywheel. Yup. Zip that guy out. Alright, so that's what that looked like. See if this opens up here. Into it. I don't know if it's screw on or what. Let's try screwing it off first. I don't think it is. I can barely grab it. I think you just have to, yeah. That pops off. That's a bigger one. It's 10 millimeter. Can you not rotate it? I don't know if that's an Allen. Huh. Alright, apparently there's no Allen fitting here. I think it takes a reverse thread puller, and I think that's just for the flywheel. So there's no way to rotate the engine, of course, by removing that. So I think we're just gonna crank it over and see if we can get close with the starter. Alright, we use the starter to rotate the engine over. And as you can see on the cam, there are two lines right here on the actual shaft. One right there, one right there. That is going to be parallel to this surface here. Now your cam lobes are going to be pointing down, like that. And then you're going to come over to here and look in this little window here. This is kind of hard to show you. But in that little window, there's a line with an R right next to it. I don't know if you guys can see R or not. Right there, that's for rear cylinder. So we are perfectly in time here. We're gonna go to the front cylinder and see if that is lined up. Let's take a look. This one doesn't look like it's been taken apart. So I don't know, maybe it skipped time. That's kind of what I'm thinking. For it to skip time, the tensioner would have to be bad. So we'll see. Can't forget to hook those back up. Alright. Yeah. Gasket. There's a couple back there. All right, all the bolts are off. Let's see if this cover will come off of here. Leaking a bunch of oil. All right, cover's off. Yeah. Rockers look perfect. No metal chunks anywhere. Huh, cam chain feels good. That's weird. I was totally expecting the cam chain to be really loose. That feels good. Very, very interesting. This does look like black gasket maker, and the rest of the machine has black, so I wonder if this thing was rebuilt or something. And we just timed it wrong. It could be 180 out. I'm thinking that's what happened. So maybe this was off before and they just timed it incorrectly. But we're gonna rotate the engine over, get this thing to top dead center, see if it lines up with the mark. All right, so the only way to rotate this engine by hand, I think, is going to be the clutch. So we're gonna have to take off the clutch cover, and I guess it's a good time to check out the belt as well. So let's do that next. Let's see if the cover comes off here. Know if you can get this off. Take it off. They made this thing so stupid. Can't even take off the clutch cover to change out the belt. How are you supposed to do that? Take it off from above, maybe? Well, that's not cool. Let's see if I can at least turn the engine over here. There, okay. Well, I can at least rotate it, kinda. We're not taking everything apart to take this cover off, so we're just gonna have to rotate it by hand. Kind of a stupid design. All right, so now we are on top dead center for the front cylinder. Let's see if you guys can see the F down there. I don't know if you guys will be able to. Basically there's an F, yeah, you can kind of see it, with a line. So that is for front cylinder. Now coming up to the front cylinder, you can see lobes are pointing down. And then we're going to be looking at the mark on the cam. You can kind of see it through here. Hopefully you guys can. So, up there, you can see those lines are parallel with the surface. So it is timed correctly. But now we're going to see if we're 180 out. So we're going to turn the engine over counterclockwise, which is going forward. So we're going to be spinning it this way, that rotation. And what we're going to do is go 270 degrees until we hit the R mark on the flywheel. Then we're going to check timing. So we will see. All right, now we are 270 degrees counterclockwise going to the R. If you guys can kind of see in there. You can kind of see the R mark. Really hard to see, but that is for rear cylinder. And if you look, the lobes are pointing up, but the cam is timed correctly, except the lobes are pointing up. So that means we're 180 out. The lobe should be pointing down at top dead center. So pistons at the top of the cylinder, lobes are pointing the wrong way. So this engine is 180 degrees out of time. So what we're gonna do is time this up correctly and get this all situated. That's why that cylinder wasn't firing in the front. 180 out. So I think this engine was taken apart at one time and put back together incorrectly, and probably never ran again after that, correctly at least. So somebody made a big mistake. We're down here to get to the tensioner. Got to reach way in here, by the way. We had to take off the shifter right here, and then it was the shift position sensor that was sitting right here, and that bracket. So that was not easy either. This thing is horrible to work on. And now we were able to get a screwdriver in there and free up that tensioner here, which is good. We can come up here and get the nuts off the cam sprocket and try to get that cam free so we can rotate that cam without dropping anything in the engine here. And these are Loctited in. So one bolt out. Let's see. Now we're going to rotate the engine over just a little bit so we can get to the other one. Engine doesn't like to rotate that way. I think that's good. Alright, we got the clip out, the holder out. Alright. Now we're going to rotate the engine back to where it was. It'll be fairly easy. Now we can take the cam out of here. Make sure not to drop that pin in. We can rotate this. Like that. Move it a little bit more. Now if we look in here, we're going to be pretty much spot on, and the tensioner will tension it so it goes like that. So you can see the two lines here are perfectly parallel to the surface. So now we can get everything back together, and you can see that the lobes are now pointing down on the cam. Before they were pointing up, when they should be pointing down. Because right now, the piston is at the top of the cylinder. And what happens is, as that flywheel comes around, it signals the CDI to spark when the piston's at the top of the cylinder and the valves are closed like that. So right now the valves would fully be closed. If these were up, these lobes were up, it'd be pushing the rockers up, which in turn pushes the valve down. So that's why that wasn't firing. Alright, now this thing should be timed properly on both cylinders. So we can get the valve covers back on, everything back together here, and attempt to fire this thing up again. Hopefully it now runs on both cylinders. Alright, valve covers going back on. We're going to clean this one up. Get off all that old gasket maker. spray this off with some brake cleaner. Wipe this down. And we can load that up too. The ground's out of the way here. Alright, next valve cover. Just gonna clean this up a bit. Get some new gasket maker on it. You can see this is the one that had all that gasket material on it. I'm gonna look for cracks on this one, because we saw a lot of oil pooling on this one. Just take a razor blade and kind of cut some of this off. Gasket material here. Does it have a crack? I think it does. I think there's a crack right here. It doesn't go all the way through. You can see just a little crack right there. So we'll patch that and maybe get that welded later. Well, both valve covers are back on. Everything's timed up correctly. Looking good. We got both plugs back in. So now we're gonna let that gasket maker dry for a bit and then attempt to fire this thing up. Well, here we go, moment of truth. Let's try to fire it up, see if it runs on both cylinders here. All right, here we go. She's running on both cylinders. That pipe is hot. That pipe is hot. Oh yeah. Burning off some old oil. Revving a little high here. Yeah, it's burning off old oil that was dripping on the pipe. That sounds so much stronger. So that was the problem. Thing fired right up and sounds really good. So we might have to adjust the idle a little bit. Seems like that's pretty high. I don't know, I think that's right in here. Let's see if they move that at all. I think there's a little screw, but definitely seems high. That sounds really good. Can't believe that was a problem. That's insane. Awesome. So now we're going to put everything back together, run this for a little bit more, see if we can get that idle to come down a little bit. Yeah, so somebody must have been in this engine rebuilding it and they timed it wrong. Before we fire this thing up again, let's see if there's any coolant in it. Alright, there's lots of air in there. We're gonna run it without the radiator cap on for a little bit. For some reason the fans are not working, so we're gonna test those out quick before we fire it up. And here. We're gonna see if that fan works first. And if we hit positive, the fan should turn on. Yep. So that fan is working. Check this one. That fan works too. So it's not the actual fan that's the issue. I definitely want those working before we run this for a longer time. So let's go take a look at the fuses. All right, fuses were underneath the passenger seat. Let's take a look here. All right, couple spares in there. All right, so this says main, accessories, EPS, more accessories. Here's fan left, fan right. So these two 15 amp fuses are what we're looking at. So fan left. That one looks good. Put that one back in. And we'll do a continuity test on that too. Fan. Oh, that one's broken. Look at that. That one is actually broken. So we can throw that one away. Get a new one in there. That might be the problem. Going in. Let's see if that solves our issue. Alright, turn the key on. Fan. Nothing. That's weird. That one's good. That one's good. That one's good. 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 So they're all good. All right, let's see if our lights work. Oh yeah. Those are nice and bright. Those are working. Low. Those are working. Cool. Let's see if the 4x4 works. So, oh yeah, you can see 4-wheel drive. No 4-wheel drive. Nothing. I don't know what this switch is for. Why is that not working? So it looks like the fan right here is coming on when I touch this wire. And that's lighting up. So I think it meant cooling fans for the, where is this coming from? I think that's like the, I think that's just an engine fan. I think it's just blowing on the engine here. So I don't think it's this fan. I think it's this fan that comes on. So that's why that wasn't working. It wasn't connected there. So we figured that out. All right, here we go. We're trying to get this idle to come down a little bit. Maybe once we run it for a bit, it will come down. idle came down a little bit. Sounds pretty good. Really nice and strong. Running really strong. Idling at like 1300. Still burning off some old oil. Give it a couple revs. Oil staying real high. So as you can see, both cylinders are now running. Before I could grab onto that pipe. Same with this one. Instantly evaporates that. So both cylinders are definitely running. That's awesome. Alright, I think it's not bleeding properly. The hose here was hot, but the hose coming down to the pump down here was not hot. So we're looking for a bleeder screw. All right, looked up the bleeding procedure. So the bolt here has to come out. That's going to be out for the remainder of the bleeding process. So we'll take that out first, and then the bolt right here on the water pump, that's the bleed screw right there. So we're going to leave that out until coolant comes out through that hole. Then you plug that back up. Then we come down. I don't know if you guys can see it or not. There's a 13mm bolt right there. We're going to take that out until coolant comes out and then plug that back up. And then there's one on the other side as well, kind of hidden down here. I don't know if you guys can see it or not, but it's right on the other side, right there. And you take that one out, let coolant come out, and then top it all off until coolant comes out of here. Coolant is coming out of every location, so we're good there. We're going to top this off until coolant comes out of here, which is really close. A little bit more. It's coming out, so we can plug that up. Hose right here is getting warm. That's a good sign. Looking good. This one's warm up here too. Perfect. Running pretty good. Oh yeah, nice and hot. So I think we've got this thing bled properly now. The hose here is nice and warm. The one up here is nice and warm. They're about the same temperature. So that's awesome. So that's working out great. All right, so this thing continues to have a high idle. I'm thinking it could be an air leak by the intake possibly, maybe sucking in air. Or possibly the throttle cable is stuck just a little bit, causing it to rev high. But we are gonna look at that next video and continue this process here. So next video, I'm hoping to get this thing all back together, running right, and then we can take it for the first test drive since both cylinders are running now. So far so good. We got a lot accomplished today. We got this thing diagnosed and figured out that the timing was off. So we got that figured out, got it all back together, and this thing now fires on both cylinders. So next video, stay tuned. We'll take this thing for the first rip and see how it goes. Hopefully there's no other issues with it. So far we're getting pretty lucky. So thanks for watching, guys. Thanks for subscribing. Stay tuned for next video, and until next time, we are out.